now, I just note in chapter 6, 24, no man can serve two lords, God and Mammon, and that's, Abraham Lincoln picked that up in his speech here during the Civil War period. And then in chapter 7, I'm going to come back to some of this material. I just want to move in to get a background to chapter 13 where I want to move up to chapter 13, but I want to pick up some important phrases on the way up to chapter 13. You can pick up the parallels if you want to do good unto those that hate you. Pick up my book for me, will you? Somebody hand it to me. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. You can get the humor in that one. Here's another hypocrite one, chapter 7, 5. Pull the log out of your own eye, and so on and so forth. Stop criticizing people. Do not, but then he goes on, 6, which is really important, 7, 6. That was 7, 5. Do not give what is holy to dogs. See, I'm not following the harmony at this point. That's why I have two books. Because the harmony will, help you with parallels, but it won't help you with the straight narrative line. This is the interlinear I'm following here at this point. Because interlinear will let you get through with the straight way through one gospel. So if I were you, until we get up to where we need the harmony, I would do what works easiest for you. Do not give what is holy to dogs, nor cast pearls before swine, lest they trample upon them with their feet. So now this gives this is another ethos here. So occasionally Matthew swings back and forth. For instance, earlier in the Sermon on the Mount, he says, not one jot or tittle shall disappear from the law until all these things are accomplished. Matthew is the only one or later on we're going to get the parable of the tares, where an enemy came and threw and sowed bad seed, tares, among the good seed. And the enemy is usually the term in Ebionite literature, as I told you, applied to Paul. And that is the only Jamesian or Ebionite or Dead Sea Scrolls, pro-Dead Sea Scrolls parable in all the New Testament. So occasionally a parable is pro-Ebionite, if you like, or pro the Palestinian form of these things, and most of the time it's pro-Pauline, the parables. But anyway, let's leave that aside at the moment, but here's one that is definitely, looking towards the Palestinian, I'll call it Christian, Palestinian side of things, as opposed to the overseas Gentile or Hellenized or Greco-Roman or overseas form of things. You say, well, how do you know this is in here? Well, maybe it isn't. So we'll judge if it is or it isn't. But here, do not give holy things to dogs, nor throw pearls before swine. In this casting imagery, as I've shown in my books, is extremely important. Now, there's an antidote to this later on, even in this gospel and in some of the other synoptics. When Jesus meets a Canaanite woman and who wants him to cure her daughter, he says that he can't do that because she's outside of Palestine and Jewish nation and so on and so forth. And she says, even the dogs eat the crumbs under the table. And so that is the repost, even within Matthew, back and forth of the swing back and forth. Dogs, to some extent, may even be interpreted, and it's not a pleasant aspersion, as an aspersion to Gentiles. I don't think that it was used widely in that sense, but there is some sense that it could be. And all this material, there's the casting in the Greek, balete, which is why I like to look at this. And don't forget in that dogs thing that I just mentioned, even the dogs under the table eat the crumbs. You will have the casting imagery there, I think, as well. And in the Luke version of that, you have, and this is what's so interesting about all these various Gospels, when we get to it, we'll switch over to the harmony. In the Luke version of that, you have a rich man wining and dining and feasting daily. And then it turns out that there's a poor man, and it turns out the poor man is designated as Lazarus. Is under his table eating the crumbs while the dogs licked his feet. You follow me? You say, what are you talking about? Well, you're getting variations on all this language. Dogs, crumbs, falling, feet. And they keep throwing them up in the air and coming up with different combinations. Now the average reader takes this as all historical material. Now what I'm proposing to you, and it's pretty revolutionary I think, it's all through my book, The New Testament Code, is that this is how some of these writers were operating. It's as if you were playing a game of Scrabble. You said, okay, now, make me an interesting little episode based on crumbs, dogs, and feet. So here you already have, you see, here the swine trampled them with their feet. Later on, it's the dogs licked his feet. You follow me? I do believe this is the code that's going on. This is, I do, honestly, after, I analyzed it for 250 pages in my new book. I really can't do it any more than that in this context. You know, you have to look at all the parallels that I give you to see that there is some of this going on. If you don't think it's going on, that's fair enough. I'm just proposing that to you, is to keep your eye on these things. So I want to keep an eye on some of these words, particularly casting. But here you see it is for the holy things, not against the holy things. Let me move on here. Now in chapter 8,